U.S. President Joe Biden has signed a defense policy bill for the fiscal year 2022 that would go a long way in boosting Taiwan's defense capabilities. Viewers may note that both chambers of the U.S. Congress earlier voted in support of the National Defense Authorization Act (NDAA), which defines the country's defense policy and budget. President Biden signed the $768.2 billion act into law on Monday. Importantly, the bill permits Taiwan to be invited to the Rim of the Pacific (RIMPAC) military exercise this summer. The bill contains specific references on defense relations with the island and suggests conducting practical training and military exercises with Taiwan, including, as appropriate, inviting Taiwan to participate in the Rim of the Pacific exercise conducted in 2022. In this video, Defense Updates analyzes how America's National Defense Authorization Act paves the way for stronger military cooperation with Taiwan. Let's get started. This video is sponsored by the free-to-play military vehicle combat game War Thunder. We talk a lot about military vehicles on this channel, but what about trying them out for yourself? In War Thunder, you can choose from more than 1,200 playable vehicles from the 1930s to the 1990s and go to battle on more than 80 theaters of war. You can fly aircraft, helicopters, drive tanks, and command ships of all types and sizes, which have been carefully recreated from their real-world counterparts. It's available as a free download on PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One with cross-platform support. So grab your friends and give it a try. All viewers of Defense Updates that register using the link in the description below will also get a free premium tank, aircraft, or ship and 3 days of premium account time as a bonus. China views Taiwan as a breakaway province. Taiwan is currently a self-governed democracy. The Chinese Communist Party has stated that it's willing to bring Taiwan back to its fold, even if it requires force. In the last few years, China has been increasingly mounting pressure on Taiwan by sending warplanes and warships with a clear intention to intimidate. During a speech to commemorate the Communist Party's 100-year anniversary, Chinese President Xi Jinping had stated, "Resolving the Taiwan question and realizing China's complete reunification is a historic mission and an unshakable commitment of the party." The relation between Taiwan and the United States is unofficial and informal and is governed by the Taiwan Relations Act. The Taiwan Relations Act is designed to maintain ambiguity and does not state if the USA will or will not intervene militarily if China attacks or invades Taiwan. Under the Act, the U.S. is obligated to sell arms of a defensive character to Taiwan. But the new bill seems to have gone much beyond that. RIMPAC is the world's largest multinational maritime warfare exercise, held every 2 years since 1974. Before that, it was held yearly. The exercise is hosted by the U.S. Navy's Indo-Pacific Command and joined by navies from about 24 nations. A number of Southeast Asian countries have been invited. China took part in 2014 and 2016 when U.S.-China relations were better. While recent visits by U.S. policymakers have set a clear tone, an invitation to RIMPAC, which is a high-profile international naval exercise, is a monumental step. Viewers may note that earlier a bipartisan team, including Democrats Tammy Duckworth, Christopher Coons, and Republican Dan Sullivan, visited Taipei for around 3 hours where they met President Tsai Ing-wen. The visit carried a message since the senators traveled on a U.S. Air Force C-17 Globemaster III strategic transport aircraft rather than an unmarked private jet, as is generally the case for senior U.S. visitors. The invitation to RIMPAC takes this further. Eli Ratner, U.S. Assistant Secretary of Defense for Indo-Pacific Security Affairs, told a Senate Foreign Relations Committee hearing earlier this month that bolstering Taiwan's self-defenses is an urgent task and an essential feature of deterrence. Some sections of the newly signed bill recommend building up Taiwan's asymmetric defenses, including coastal defense missiles, naval mines, anti-aircraft capabilities, cyber defenses, and special operations forces. Asymmetric defense refers to the capability to counter a more powerful rival. The bill says it shall be the policy of the United States to maintain the capacity of the United States to resist a fait accompli that would jeopardize the security of the people on Taiwan. The term fait accompli refers to the resort to force by China to invade and seize control of Taiwan before the United States can respond effectively. The U.S. Secretary of Defense is requested to submit a report by February 15, 2022 on the feasibility and advisability of enhanced cooperation between the U.S. National Guard and Taiwan. While the U.S. military hasn't conducted any bilateral and joint exercise with Taiwan, U.S. military trainers have been deployed on the island. In her interview with CNN last year, Tsai acknowledged the presence of U.S. troops in Taiwan. In doing so, Tsai became the first Taiwan president in decades to admit this. China is separated from Taiwan through the Taiwan Strait, and China will have to move its forces across the strait in case it decides to invade. Such an amphibious operation is one of the most complicated ones. In this situation, even the small improvements in Taiwan's military capability will be crucial. The U.S. is Taiwan's largest arms supplier, with agreed deals worth more than $23 billion since 2010. Just recently, the U.S. has approved a deal for F-16Vs. Taiwan is expected to receive 66 new F-16Vs by 2026, as well as have its existing F-16A and B jets upgraded to V standard. While military hardware is very important, the most critical factor is sending a clear message to the belligerent Chinese Communist Party that the U.S. will do what's needed to protect Taiwan, and hence the National Defense Authorization Act has hit the nail on the head. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting, and kindly provide your feedback in the comment section. This will help us improve.